This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, the Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Army General Saeed Shingriha, has received Army General Dagvin Anderson, Commander of the United States Africa Command, AFRICOM. Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf has highlighted the shared historical capital uniting Algeria and Bosnia and Herzegovina, affirming the willingness of both sides to elevate bilateral relations in the best interests of the two countries and peoples. In the Middle East, one Palestinian boy was killed in new Israeli airstrikes carried out today against the town of Khan Yunis in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Smani. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a working session devoted to the trade sector, the protection of national production and the regulation of imports, particularly with regard to combating the phenomenon of re-exporting imported products. It was also decided during the meeting to create the Exporter and Importer Card, which will contain all the data relating to its holder. Now, as you followed in our top stories, the Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Army General Saeed Shingriha, has received Army General Dagvin Anderson, Commander of the United States Africa Command, AFRICOM. During this meeting, both sides held discussions on the state of military cooperation between the two countries and exchanged analyses and views on issues of common interest. Army General Shingriha welcomed the AFRICOM commander and his delegation, stressing that the visit marks a new milestone in bilateral cooperation and that both countries are seeking to strengthen military ties through the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding to build a solid, lasting partnership based on mutual respect and shared interests. He also stressed that Algeria continues to work to strengthen the mechanisms of the Joint African Initiative aimed at pooling efforts to eradicate terrorism and violent extremism in all its forms.
Algeria continues, as entrusted by the African Union, to strengthen the mechanism of the continental collective action aimed at pooling resources to eradicate terrorism and violent extremism at all levels. Algeria, through this active and dynamic role, has launched several initiatives at the continental level through a multidimensional security approach to counter terrorism, primarily based on activating an African financial fund dedicated to this purpose, setting up an African list of individuals and entities involved in criminal acts, and preparing an African arrest warrant. It is also necessary to highlight the annual report presented by Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, in his capacity as African Union Coordinator for the fight against terrorism and violent extremism.
For his part, General Dagvin Anderson expressed his satisfaction with the visit to Algeria and his continued commitment to strengthening military cooperation, praising the level of multidimensional coordination between both sides as well as the contribution of the People's National Army to maintaining security and peace in the region. At the end of the meeting, both sides exchanged symbolic gifts and the AFRICOM commander signed the guest book of the General Staff of the People's National Army. The Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, has highlighted the shared historical capital uniting Algeria and Bosnia and Herzegovina, affirming the willingness of both sides to elevate bilateral relations in the best interest of the two countries and peoples. Mr. Shafi has the details.
In a press statement made following a meeting with Bosnia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Elmedin Kunakovic, he indicated that both sides examined prospects for bilateral cooperation in several vital sectors such as energy, mining, industry, pharmaceutical industry, agriculture and startups. Mr. Attaf reaffirmed Algeria's determination to intensify the joint action with Bosnia and Herzegovina in order to turn the prospects in concrete projects and to strengthen bilateral relations. He stressed that the Bosnian minister's visit marks an important step in strengthening relations, recalling Algeria's early recognition of Bosnia and Herzegovina, their historic ties and mutual support, notably during the Algerian Revolution. Mr. Attaf stressed the need to strengthen the legal and institutional framework for bilateral cooperation, including the opening of Bosnia's representation in Algeria and the setting up of a joint governmental committee, a joint business council, and activate political consultations.
أكدنا اليوم على الحاجة الملحة لتأسيس لجنة حكومية.
Today, we emphasize the urgent need to set up a joint governmental committee entrusted with organizing cooperation relations between our two countries and defining the priorities of its expansion on the one hand, and to create a joint business council that would oversee structuring the interaction between economic operators, as well as activating the mechanism of political consultations between our two countries, which is a necessity at this time in light of a highly unstable international climate.
Mr. Attaf stressed that efforts should focus on strengthening the legal framework through faster negotiations and new agreements, welcomed the signing of an accord on diplomatic training, emphasized the importance of the human dimension in cultural and social ties, and noted strong coordination between the two countries at the UN and other international bodies. Mr. Kunakovic, for his part, stressed Algeria as a key partner and gateway to African markets, calling for stronger strategic economic cooperation and closer exchanges.
We view Algeria as a key partner in North Africa and an important hub for broader engagement with African markets. And today we underline our readiness to transform this traditional friendship into a strategic and economically driven partnership. Not only bilaterally, I believe that we can together economically improve our relations in our regions. Bosnia and Herzegovina is strongly interested in intensifying economic cooperation with Algeria. This requires stronger joint efforts to promote concrete opportunities for collaboration, as well as more frequent exchanges of official visits accompanied by business delegations.
He specified that the Memorandum of Understanding concluded between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Institute of Diplomacy and International Relations, IDRI, will strengthen diplomatic training and expertise exchange and enhance bilateral relations. Both sides discussed key regional and international issues including the Middle East, the Gulf, and the war in Ukraine, as well as the situation prevailing in the Balkans and the Sahel region.
Earlier, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bosnia, Elmedin Kunakovic, was received by the Minister of State in charge of hydrocarbons, Mohammed Arqab. The meeting examined the state and prospects of bilateral cooperation, with both sides reaffirming strong friendship and their willingness to strengthen partnership in the hydrocarbon sector, focusing on oil and gas cooperation, investment and trade in natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas, industrial cooperation and technology transfer, and training in the energy sector. For his part, Mr. Kunakovic expressed his country's interest in strengthening cooperation with Algeria in the hydrocarbon sector, reaffirming Sarajevo's readiness to support initiatives aimed at expanding economic partnership between the two sides. In the same regard, Prime Minister Mr. Sifi Gharib also received Mr. Kunakovic with talks aimed at promoting economic cooperation and trade exchanges between the two countries. Now, the Minister of State in charge of hydrocarbons, Mohammed Arqab, has received here in Algiers the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State, Christopher Lando. Mr. Sharfi has more.
During the meeting, both sides examined the Algerian-American relations and prospects for strengthening cooperation, particularly in hydrocarbons and related sectors such as oil and gas equipment manufacturing, reaffirming their willingness to enhance dialogue and cooperation and to promote in support of mutual interest and sustainable development. Mr. Arqab highlighted the cooperation existing between the Algerian and U.S. companies, notably Sonatrach with ExxonMobil and Chevron, and called for its expansion to include modern technologies, R&D, innovation and training, while Mr. Lando welcomed strong ties existing between the two countries and the growing U.S. interest in investment and long-term partnerships. In the same regard, the Minister of Mines and Mining Industries, Murad Hanifi, received Mr. Lando for talks on how to strengthen bilateral cooperation in mining, as well as promoting investment and partnership opportunities across the mining value chain, particularly in the exploration and processing of strategic and critical minerals for advanced technologies and renewable energy. On the occasion, Mr. Hanifi presented Algeria's mining development strategy, including ongoing and future projects, and the legal framework with its investment incentives, inviting U.S. companies to seize opportunities and contribute to the sector's development. Both sides emphasized the necessity to strengthen international mining cooperation through expertise exchange and partnerships, notably between SUNAREM and specialized companies in exploration, extraction, and mineral processing. Earlier, the Minister of Foreign Trade and Export Promotion, Kamal Rizig, received Mr. Lando, with whom he examined ways to strengthen economic and commercial cooperation between the two countries. The talks focused on promoting trade exchanges and exploring new partnership opportunities between economic operators in Algeria and the United States, with both sides stressing the importance of encouraging partnerships and intensifying business meetings to boost trade and cooperation in various sectors.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. Now to the Middle East. In the Palestinian state, one Palestinian boy was killed in new Israeli airstrikes carried out today against the town of Khan Younis in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. Other airstrikes targeting the northern and eastern parts of the enclave also claimed several wounded. Meanwhile, medical sources warn that the only oxygen plant still functioning in the northern governorates of Gaza might stop functioning, thus compromising the oxygen supplies to hospitals. They were quoted by the news agency Wafa as saying that such a situation posed serious threats to the life of the patients, predicting an imminent humanitarian disaster. This came as the Médecins Sans Frontières blamed the Israeli occupying authorities of using the access to water as an arm against the population of Gaza. In a report released today, the organization affirmed that depriving the Palestinian population of such an essential resource is part and parcel of a collective punishment campaign. The report, based on MSF data collected by its personnel between 2024 and 2025, stated that the repeated use of the Israeli occupying authorities of the access to water is part of the killing of civilians, the destruction of health facilities, and the demolition of houses, leading to a massive displacement of the population. As the security humanitarian situation is deteriorating in Sudan, the UN has condemned the recent attacks on an aid truck and a village, resulting in the killing of civilians and the destruction of supplies. The details in this report by Mas'ud.
The Sudanese Doctors Network announced today that 5 people had been killed and 12 others injured in the shelling by the Rapid Support Paramilitary Forces of the town of Zelengay in central Darfur state. The network stated that the attack had resulted in civilian casualties, in a development reflecting the continuing deterioration of the security and humanitarian situation in the region. The chairman of the Sovereignty Transitional Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, had affirmed that the Sudanese people will prevail and will not stand idly in the face of any oppression. Meanwhile, the United Nations has condemned the attack on an aid truck in the state of North Darfur in Western Sudan. UN spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric said in a statement that a truck carrying emergency shelter supplies belonging to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees was attacked by a drone as it passed through the town of Dersaya.
On Friday, a UNHCR truck carrying emergency shelter kits came under attack by a drone while transiting through the town of Drisaya. The driver escaped unhurt, thankfully, but all of the supplies were destroyed in the fire. The truck was heading to Tawila, where 700,000 men, women, and children have sought safety after fighting in other parts of Sudan. UNHCR will continue to work in Sudan to reach displaced people, including 9 million displaced within the country's borders and more than 860,000 that have crossed the border to other countries. On Saturday, a drone reportedly caused casualties in residential neighborhoods in El Obeid city in North Kordofan. Local medical group Sudan Doctors Network said 7 people were killed and over 20 injured. These ordinary families in their homes caught in violence that continues to reach civilian neighborhoods. We condemn all of these attacks.
Dujarric referred to a recent assessment carried out by United Nations partners, which revealed a deterioration in the humanitarian situation in various displacement sites in Blue Nile State, a deterioration resulting from several factors including overcrowding, inadequate shelter, the absence of sanitation facilities, and escalating violence.
African ministers, senior officials and development experts are gathering in the Ethiopian capital for the 12th session of the African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, a crucial annual meeting organized by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa